Hey there, Fletch from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm going to be talking about leave no trace and the importance of it. I'm going to kind of walk you through the principles of it, but if you are newer to dispersed camping and overlanding, and maybe you've heard of leave no trace, but you're just not sure what it is, I'm going to kind of walk you through the specifics of it in this episode to give you a better understanding of the importance of it and why it's such a big deal for us to make sure that we leave the stuff as good as it was when we came there or better when we leave a dispersed campsite. So again, I'm going to walk you through those principles. I'm going to talk a little bit about each and give you some real world examples of them. And hopefully by the end of the episode, you will have a better understanding of how to protect the environment that we want to share, right? And to take better care of it. So let's get into leave no trace principles and why they matter for overlanders.
Understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, guys, so as I mentioned in the intro, today I'm talking about leave no trace. And again, if you have been doing dispersed camping, if you've been doing overlanding, you've probably heard these terms thrown around, but I haven't actually ever seen a ton of actual people walking you through these specific sort of tenets of leave no trace. So I've actually got their website pulled up, and I'm going to put links in the description down below to the leave no trace website itself. And then also the National Park Service is a really nice, concise, sort of abbreviated article that just sort of walks you through all of these tenets that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So if you want to check those out, check out those links in the description down below. And while you're down there, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to be notified when new videos drop if you're on YouTube, because I do one of these every single week plus other videos on YouTube. Now, if you're on the podcast, add it to your favorites and leave a 5-star review. That would be huge, and it helps other people find the podcast. So again, referencing kind of that article on the National Park Service website that's linked below, they start with planning and preparing. So it doesn't sort of seem like something that you would think of with leave no trace, but it is sort of important to really think about the impact you're going to have. And when you're getting ready to go out and go dispersed camping, you want to make sure that you review the rules from the National Forest Service or, the state that you're going to be visiting. There are oftentimes things that will tell you exactly how close you can be to streams or how far away you need to be, or what makes a trail, how to recognize a marked trail versus maybe an illegal trail. There are tons of helpful resources on the website for the National Forest or state park that you're going to visit that will tell you a lot of those things that you need to know to make sure that you're not breaking any rules that could potentially damage the environment. So plan ahead, do your research, look at the website for the place that you're going to go, make sure that you know everything about it before you even ever leave. Another thing is to prepare for weather, right? If it's going to be super, super muddy and rainy and you're going to one of the national forests, let's say, that has some 4-wheel drive trails and things like that, it may not be the best time to go because you're going to cause more damage to the trail because of the weather and stuff than you would otherwise if it was a dry day. A good example of this is Kentucky, the Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway, sometimes, or the CAT, the Kentucky Adventure Trail. Sometimes those roads will get closed in there because a mud pit will get super, super rutted out and damaged. And what needs to happen when that happens is volunteers generally will go in there and they'll actually repair those roads, but they become unpassable for a while, and it actually can stop other people from being able to explore the Kentucky Adventure Trail or something like that. So again, just being cognizant of the weather and trying to make smart decisions on when you go. Again, is it taking away your freedom and saying you can't go in the rain? No one's saying that. But as good stewards of the environment and people that want to keep these roads open for everybody so that we can all keep enjoying them, sometimes it's just better to say, you know what, it's better if I just don't go right now because the weather's bad. I don't want to do damage to that trail that otherwise I wouldn't do if it was better weather. That kind of goes similarly for size of group. If you're going to be bringing a huge group, it's going to be more of an impact on the environment than bringing 2 or 3 rigs. If you're bringing 10 or 15 rigs, it's going to do more damage to those trails with you all kind of following each other's tire tracks through that and constantly running out the same stuff. So again, try and separate into smaller groups, split up if you can. If you've got 10 rigs, split up into 2 groups of 5 and go on 2 different sets of trails. Just minimizes the impact, saves more space, saves more of the environment, saves more damage on the trails so that others can enjoy them more. And then, of course, when you are exploring and stuff, and most of us are doing this anyways nowadays, but make sure you're using a Gaia or an Onyx or something like that, some sort of a GPS thing. Don't mark anything. Don't hang up flags or paint trees or anything like that for trails. Don't build cairns or anything like that. If you're not familiar with that, don't stack rocks and build recognizable landmarks that aren't natural to mark trails and things like that, right? Just use your GPS so you don't have to mark anything or leave leave any sort of a mark on the environment. The next sort of thing that they talk about is traveling and also camping on durable surfaces. And what they mean by that is just sort of like when you're on a trail, make sure that you're on a maintained trail as much as possible. Try not to go on, again, those super rutted out trails. There are existing fire roads, there are existing trails that are built to be used by folks like us that want to go off-roading, that want to go exploring and things like that. So make sure you're using those and not creating your own paths, not creating bypasses and things. If there is a spot that's rutted out, going around that sometimes can cause more damage than just turning around and going back, right? So just be aware of that. Make sure that you're using existing campsites. You're not creating your own campsite. You're not maybe driving into a campsite and then saying, well, it looks like someone maybe drove back there before. Let's go see what's back there. And then you go further back and you build your own new fire pit. And now there's a site with 4 different spots in it and 5 different fire pits. Next, we're going to kind of talk about like waste, right? So that is a thing, especially if you were really new to this, if you've never really been dispersed camping, it's not like going to a state park, making a reservation, and then having a specific dedicated spot. So you're going to go out, you're going to explore, you're going to find a dispersed spot with, say, a ring in it, but then you have to pack out your own waste. So you're going to need to bring something like a 5-gallon bucket and a toilet seat and a trash bag. You're going to want to double bag that probably just to be safe, but you do need to like put that into a trash bag and take your waste out with you. Or if you don't want to do that, it is possible to, dig a hole down, usually 6 to 8 inches, and bury your waste in the toilet paper down there so that it can biodegrade and kind of go back into the environment. But it's important not to leave it just laying around. I don't know why people do that. I feel like I go to these places like the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and there's just toilet paper in trees, like strong. Like who wipes their butt and then throws toilet paper everywhere? I don't know who you are, but stop it. It's disgusting. It's gross. And you're going to get these places shut down. Dig the hole deep enough that you can bury your waste or have a toilet, some sort of a portable folding toilet or a 5-gallon bucket that you can go to the bathroom in and then put it in your trash and take it out with you and drop it off at the nearest trash can when you get back to your house. In most instances, and again, reading the website for the place that you're going to go will give you specifics, but generally if you're about 200 feet or more from a running water source, you're okay to, go to the bathroom, you're okay to do that kind of thing, but you don't want to like poop in a creek, right? Because then that waste goes into there. It can affect the animals in it and stuff. It can affect the drinkability of that water. It's just, you want to stay away from moving water or freshwater sources when you're, using the bathroom. But again, research the place you're going to go and get the specifics from the website of the national forest or whatever that you're going to ahead of time. There are going to be times where you're going to come across historical things like old abandoned houses or let's say cave paintings. When I was in Wyoming, we went to a thing that had a bunch of wall art that, ancient folks had carved into the wall, or even 1800s, settlers and things like that had carved their names into walls or drawn pictures and stuff on the wall. Those things are to be respected, right? You can take pictures. That doesn't hurt anything. You can look at it. You can admire it. You can take videos. You can take pictures, but don't touch it. Don't destroy anything. Don't take anything. Leave everything as it was and just try not to mess up anything natural that's already there. Kind of hand in hand with that is when you say leave what you found, it doesn't necessarily have to be like an abandoned house or cabin or something, but don't build structures, right? If you come into a dispersed campsite, and let's just say it's a big opening with a fire ring in the middle of it, you're not a bushcrafter, right? Not in a national forest. Well, it is our land. It's not your land, right? So like we aren't supposed to be building things. So don't build like lean-tos, don't nail nails into trees, don't hang up paracord everywhere to dry your clothes or something. Like if you hang a string from one tree to the next to hang your clothes up, that's fine, but then untie that and take it down. Don't nail it into the tree. Don't tie it to the tree and leave it. It's kind of common sense, right? Again, I don't think that it's overlanders that are doing this stuff. When I see it, I think it's more like locals that go out there for a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time. And just that's their vacation, is they're just hanging out in the woods and throwing beer cans into the woods and stuff. Don't do that. Just leave it the way that it was or clean it up. Make it better. Fires. This is another thing, right? Don't make your own fire pit. Don't move fire rings around. If there's an established fire pit, you can clean it out. You can dig out ashes and stuff like that. But try and keep your fire pretty small. Like there's no need to be building giant bonfires, right? There's no need to have 15-foot tall flames leaping out of these fire pits. It just is a risk, right? It's a risk for fire hazard. It's a risk for damaging the ground. It's a risk to move the fire ring, and you're dirtying up the whole campsite. You're not leaving it better than you found it. Make sure that you burn everything completely. So again, don't throw bottles or cans in into the trash. They don't burn complete enough. Most of the time, almost every single time, the fire will not get hot enough to burn those things down to be completely gone. You're just going to have a melty hunk of steel or tin or glass in the fire when you're done, and it's going to leave a mess, right? It's dangerous. Someone could cut themselves on the glass, and it's just disgusting. It's just bad for the environment. So just pack out everything that you pack in, and with the fire, make sure that you burn it down completely. Don't throw all your logs on at the end of the night and then leave a bunch of half-burnt logs on the fire pit. Just put on what you need and then burn it up as completely as possible so that you're basically leaving ashes behind, and leave it, as clean as you possibly can when you're done. And then next, respecting wildlife, right? And this one is a little tricky. And what I mean by that is just that, if we see a deer, we're like, oh, wow, a deer. And we all want to look at it. And we want to take pictures of it and stuff. But say that a raccoon comes into your campsite and they're kind of a pest, right? And they're digging through your trash. Make sure that you secure your trash up high somewhere where they can't get to, or you lock it in your vehicle or in the bed of your truck, so that they're not tempted to come in there. And don't throw rocks at them, or, I've seen people freak out and yell at animals or get mad at them. I've seen, people that shoot videos, YouTubers and stuff, that will fly their drones really close to gazelle or deer or moose or whatever. Try and leave the animals alone. Try and be as low impact as possible. I hear coyotes and stuff every night howling all around me and stuff, and I just pretend like they're not there. My wife is terrified of them, but I kind of enjoy it. I think it's cool to be able to hear them. They've never come into my campsite. They've never messed with them, but if they did, I'd just get up in my tent or get into my vehicle and just leave them alone, right? You don't need to fight anything. You don't need to be throwing anything at anything. You don't need to be attacking anything. Just leave the animals alone. Try and stay out of their way, and they'll stay out of yours in most cases. Don't feed them, right? Keep your food locked up, keep your trash locked up so that they're not tempted to come into to camp and get habituated to humans. And then sort of finally, be respectful of other visitors, right? So when you're leaving no trace, you also don't want to be disrespectful. So you don't want to be blasting music super loud. If you're in a dispersed campground, if you're in a dispersed campsite out in the middle of the forest, I don't really want to hear, your music that you're playing or whatever. So it's a place of nature where people go to relax. No offense. Feel free to take your devices. If you like to watch shows and movies, I do that sometimes. If you want to read a book, that's fine. If you want to listen to music, that's fine to do it softly, right? But the difference, I think, between dispersed camping and a state park where it's just really meant to be recreation, right? Versus escape, is that in the state parks, you kind of anticipate that. You're going to have screaming kids, you're going to have barking dogs, you're going to have loud music playing, you're going to have lights everywhere. That's just kind of the expectation there. But with dispersed camping, it's a little different. It's more of, we're out here to enjoy nature, we're out here to stare at the stars, we're out here to listen to the bugs and the birds, right? And people are out there to relax and escape reality, kind of. So be respectful of other people and don't view it as your personal rave or party when you're out there. View it as a place to contemplate and be kind of quiet and enjoy nature. And again, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to do their things. I can already feel the people running to the comments to say, I can do whatever I want. I pay for that land. And that's fine. But again, just think of it if you would want someone to do that to you. If you happen to be close enough to someone else that you could be disturbed by their music or something, let's say they played something super offensive, you wouldn't like that, right? Maybe your stuff isn't offensive, but maybe someone else doesn't like that. So just be respectful of people. Try and be considerate and think about that stuff. Don't be shooting guns at 2 a.m. I had a buddy that was out recently and he was awoken at 2 a.m. to just rapid fire semi-auto shots. And he's kind of nervous. Should I get out with my gun? Are they shooting at me? What's going on? So just be respectful, right? Follow the rules and be respectful. But so those are kind of the tenets of leave no trace. Again, for most of us, this seems like common sense, I think, right? I would hope that we all kind of know that this is what you should do and how you should be respectful when you're out in nature. You try not to leave any marks. You try not to destroy anything that you can avoid destroying. You try not to run up trails. You try not to build giant fires. You try not to nail things into trees, right? But again, I think that there are a ton of people that are kind of getting into overlanding that are newer at it and they just don't know the rules, right? So, there have definitely been times years ago when I first started that maybe I didn't do something right, or maybe I wasn't on a legal trail or things like that. But you live and you learn. And again, I hope that this episode has some good information for you and can help you learn a little bit more about that. Go check out those resources down below. Read as much as you can, just so that it keeps you out of trouble and also so that you can be respectful and we can all keep sharing this land together for longer. But so again, I hope that was helpful for you. If it was and you're on YouTube, click that like button, click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified when new videos drop. I do a podcast every week and I do usually 1 or 2 other videos like a DIY thing, vehicle modifications or gear type review type videos. If you're on the podcast, like I mentioned earlier, add it to your favorites, leave a 5-star review. All that stuff helps the podcast a ton. It helps other people find it, and it means a lot. I appreciate it. Also, in the description down below will be links to all my other social channels, so wherever you want to come hang out, I'd love to have you. There's also a link below this to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers. I've also got all things overlanding merch, so if you want, my logo on a patch or a sticker to throw on your headliner or on your fridge or on your window or whatever, there's all that stuff down there. Definitely check that out. Again, if you're on YouTube, there's a join button below this video. That's just kind of a passive way to support the channel. Get you early access to the videos and some other perks, so check that out. And if you want a more active way to participate, check out All Things Overlanding's Patreon. That is a more active way. We've got a 24/7 Discord. We have a once-a-month Zoom call where we all kind of hang out and chat about our rigs and trips and stuff like that. And then we're taking 1 or 2 trips a year to kind of try and meet up in person, which has been a ton of fun. And then last but not least, there is the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group. This is a totally free to join group. Awesome bunch of people, 20,000 members at the time I'm recording this. So tons of great information there, tons of people with tons of different rigs all over the US. So if you're looking for people to meet up with, if you're looking for ideas for your build, that would be a good place to start. And there's no bullying like the big groups. But so that'll do it for this episode. Again, I hope that was helpful, and I appreciate you guys watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.